Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to those who have not been here before. I am excited to teach you today about lead generation. So we are hitting a different angle on lead generation today. Again, this is the theme of my year, I think. I think that I am so tired of lead generation companies that are popping up all over the place. And why can't we do it just as well as they can? Number one. But number two, what they're doing is not personal. And from my experience and what I've learned through my 7.5 years of business is the reason why I've got a 95% referral and repeat business rate is because I have all my clients coming back to me because we've formed relationships. And then anyone new that comes to me, we form a relationship. And that's how you start to actually grow a substantial business instead of what the lead generation companies want us to do, which is continue to pay for and need and be at the mercy of them because we need their leads. And we don't. I mean, they're great, they're supplemental, but I want to teach you how to look at your own market. Using this framework, you will be able to decide for yourself that what angle to take things, right? How you should be approaching the market, because the market's ever changing. So what we're doing right now, 3 months down the road isn't going to work. And then you're going to be frustrated, and then you're going to have less volume, and then it's going to be okay, now what? And then we move on to something different. So this right here is exactly what it is that I do to create clients, I guess it should say, and especially right now where we have so many people that are on the fence. I mean, I think we always have people on the fence that have the idea or the concept of I either want to buy a house or I want to sell my house, but then it usually stops at concept, right? Because they don't know where to take it from there. So I'm going to teach you how you help them take it to the next level, okay? How to get to that part where they're now going to be a buyer and a seller. So that's what we're going to do today. So if you have questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. I will get to them at the end. We'll do some Q&A at the end. So take some notes if there's anything that you have a question about, okay? Let me get a drink here before I keep talking. Okay. All right. So here we go. So this is a 5-step framework, 5-part framework, okay? So the first thing is, okay, we need to know what is our customer's success vision. Okay, and you're like, Lisa, what on earth does this have to do with selling houses, right? If we don't understand our customer, then we can't be as effective as possible. We have to understand what their success vision is. So essentially what I mean by this is we have to find the angle. Am I spelling things right today? We have to find the angle to approach the potential client in order to help them emotionally and through and into this process. That's what we're doing here. So let me give you an example. Somebody this is what happens usually. This is what's most recent, right? You meet somebody and they're like, oh, I would sell my house, except for I don't know where I would go. Okay? So what you would then say is, well, why do you want to sell your house? Because it's an idea, right? It's a concept at that moment. But why do they want to sell their house? Do you want something bigger? Do you want to be in a different area? Are you downsizing? Dig in a little bit, ask them some questions and find out why. Because once you can get them to start exploring that idea, then it becomes not so fearful. It's not quite so scary when you can start diving in a little bit with them, okay? This is the 50% counselor that we are as realtors, right? Okay. The other thing is then we can find the angle at which we are going to attack in a polite way, but we're going to attack that client, right? I say, or attack the situation. How are we going to come at it? So there's that. We need to know what's going to be driving them, and so that we can help remind them of that. But also, this is our first emotional connection that we have with the client. We are having a one-on-one conversation about their lives. And that is huge. I-O-N-A-L. Oh my gosh, I-O-N-A-L. Thanks, there we go. Yeah, this is our first emotional connection, okay? So this right here, and we will talk about where do we find the people? Like, where do we even find the people to start to have these conversations? That comes at the end, okay? So that's the first one. Okay, I'm gonna erase that because this next one's kind of long. So I hope you got it. I am gonna have notes I will email out, so if you missed something, don't worry. I will send the email out with the notes. Okay, the second one, okay? What does the client fear? Okay? So what is it that they're fearing? So this is playing on the first that we just had, right? What is their vision, or what is it that they would want? But now we're going to dive a little bit further. So this is what you want, but why can't you have it? Why is it that you feel like you can't have this, okay? So we're going to go through a few different scenarios here of why, okay? So rejection and lending. This one comes in a couple different scenarios. This is going to come in if you've got somebody who's self-employed, someone who just became self-employed, or good example is if you have someone who wasn't previously self-employed but was in the same line of business and then went self-employed. Do you know that if they did that, they only have to have a year's worth of taxes? They don't have to have 2 years worth of tax returns in order to get qualified? Most people don't know that, right? So their fear is, I have to have 2 years worth of tax returns. And the truth is, you have to have one. So I just had a client, he is a veterinarian. He's been a veterinarian for 8 years. He just bought a veterinarian practice last year. He's had 1 year of tax returns. And now we're buying $1 million house, right? If you don't know that information, that's stuff that you need to learn so that you can help them overcome their fears. Because if you don't help them overcome it, somebody else like me will. Okay, so you need to understand. Let's make sure, hold on. Okay, there we go. Okay, here's another good one. It's gonna sell too fast. Oh, and let me back up. The rejection and lending, that also comes with our first-time home buyers, someone who's never purchased before, or someone who maybe went through a divorce. They have bad credit, or they think they have bad credit, but they've never checked, right? They've never gotten over that hump. You are here to help them get over that hump. One of the things we have to remember with all of this, you guys, and what I'm teaching you today is this the harder way to do it? Well, it may seem like the harder way because I'm not just emailing you a lead, right? You're not just getting a lead in your inbox and you just call them and they're just ready to buy. Like, that's not what this is. This is you having relationships with other people. That's what this is. But even though it's harder on the front side, because it's more, I say harder, it's just more work. It's more time. You're investing a little bit more emotionally in these clients, right? It's a little bit more work. But on the flip side, my $1 million property that we just put under contract last week, I did sitting on the back patio in Hawaii, right next to the ocean, and I didn't even show my client the house because of the level of trust that we had built. They wanted me to take care of them. They didn't care where I was. And I didn't even have to go show them the house, right? That's when you start winning, right there. So you put in the work first, but that's when you start winning. Okay, selling too fast. How do we combat that with the clients? We have to get creative in the process, right? Do we need a rent back? If you're worried about selling too fast, do we need a rent back? Do we need to wait to put you on the market? Like, speak to their fears. Well, if you think you're going to sell too fast, where do you want to go? What's the scenario? Do you want to buy another house? Are we worried about having a contingency? Right? What are the questions that you need to be asking to the client that they're worried about selling too quickly? In our market right now, because we have a lack of sellers, this is one of the big reasons. Either that, or if I sell, I'm not going to be able to find a place to buy. So you have to step in as the problem solver in order to help get them through that next level, right? Through the hump. You can make it work. It takes a lot of coordinating, and coordination, but it takes a lot of coordinating to line up all your dates and your times and everything. So selling too fast. Where are they going to go? That goes with that. Right? Where will I go? Prices are so high. Where am I going to go? I can't rebuy something. Okay. So what would you want to rebuy? What is it that we want to do? Where would you want to go? And then I will tell you, this is just like our children and just like us. Anytime that we think of something that seems insurmountable, we just back off and we just stop. And that's what clients are doing right now. Sellers. They're like, gosh, we've heard it. We know what's going on in the market. They all know it, right? They all know the prices are high. They all know that there's low inventory. So it's great. Oh, I could sell my house and I could get a lot of money, but I'd have nowhere to go. Well, but is that the truth? Right? Dive in, do some research, and answer that question for them. That then creates that buyer. The other part of this is when you put forth this effort to answer questions for people, they trust you. We are building those levels of trust. So you're not then worried about that client running off to go with another agent, cheating on you, right? You're not worried about that because they want you to help them because you're the only one who's provided actual information for them, right? You're not just another salesperson on the line. Okay, they get overwhelmed, fully overwhelmed, okay? This happens a lot. How, when it has to do with the process and the timing and the where will they go and can it be done and what price will I get and will I have enough money? All of those questions, dive in and ask so that you know what it is that's bothering them. Okay, speak to the unknown. There's quite a bit in the unknown realm for someone who hasn't sold a house in a very long time. What if you've got somebody that's been in their house for 25 years? There's a lot unknown, right? Pay very close attention to the situation that you're in with the client. Have they bought a house in the last 5-10 years? It's changed a lot, right? We can't just state our income and get a loan. They ask for a whole lot of documents. That can be overwhelming and daunting to the client. So make it sound simple. It is. It's easy. Application's easy. You only need this set of documents. If you don't have a scanner, give them to me. I can scan them and send them to the lender for you, right? Fix the problem for them. Make the barrier to entry very, very, very small. Okay? And last, where do they even start? Where do we start? Oh, that looks kind of weird. There we go. Okay. But where do you start? There's all these things, right? It's kind of like when you have a child who has a very messy room. I'm saying this because I have a child with a very messy room right now, and it's like there's stuff everywhere. Where do you start? And sometimes people don't know where to start. They're like big kids. So we have to give them a plan. Now, I will caution you. Giving them a plan that is a 5 or 10 page booklet that says how you sell a house, do you really think that's as effective as sitting down and having a conversation? Because it's not. Right? Booklets are great. You want to know how many people read them? Not many. And does that help you create relationship with the client because you handed them some papers in a very fancy folder? It doesn't. Take the time, have the conversation. Okay? Your job is to let them know with all of these things that you have the answers and you have a path and you have a plan. That's what, when you have the conversation, that's what they need to be coming out of that conversation with. And then when you do this, you are now creating an emotional connection and a new level of trust with this person that you may or may not even know. Okay? This is like the ultimate conversion, you guys. The absolute ultimate conversion. Okay. What do they need to believe? Okay. So first, if you're trying to convert somebody into selling or buying, which is what we're trying to do, you want to paint the future. You want to get them excited, right? They want to downsize. Oh, how awesome would it be if you didn't have a huge yard to mow, right? It would be so much easier to take care of. You'd be closer to town for your shopping or for the hospitals. Like, look at all the positives. Help paint the future for them. The other part of this is how you fit into the picture. How do you fit into the picture with them? I always use the words or phrases. I'm always like, we. When we sell the house, or your house, right? It's their house. But it's always kind of like a group effort when I'm talking to somebody. Okay, we're going to do this. Then we're going to do this. It's a we. It's not you. It's not pointing the finger at them and having them have a long list of things to do. That can be, again, overwhelming. Some people can handle it. You get the engineers, they can handle it, right? But not everybody's an engineer. Most people are not engineers. So paint the picture and how you fit into that picture, because again, you are now like attaching yourself emotionally to them. It is harder for them to fire you or pick a different agent when they now have this emotional connection to you. Okay? You need to speak their language. Okay? So what do I mean by speak their language? So everyone has a different comfortable space. Okay? So we need to get them to, oh my gosh, COMFOR. I can't talk and write. Just a second. I can't talk and spell. Can't talk and type either. So, okay, we need to get to them to wherever their comfortable space is. Okay? So this doesn't mean that we push them to a spot that they don't want to go to. This means that in all those other steps, we are listening, we are reflecting, we are understanding what it is that they need, even if they don't know what they need. And how do you come to that conclusion? When you ask the questions and they start to answer, they will listen to, sometimes they can hear what they say, sometimes they don't hear it until they say it. Like, they don't know it until they say it, right? Anybody ever been in counseling? You go to counseling, you talk and you talk and you talk, and then all of a sudden you say something, and then you start crying, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I think that was a pain point. Like, I think that bothered me, right? It's the same thing with our clients when they start talking about, upsizing. 15 acres, big old house, they want this. Okay, so that's awesome. Like, are you going to have animals? What is it that you want to do? Where do you want to live? Like, start asking the questions. It helps them to talk through it, and then it becomes more solid to them. If that's the decision they want to make, or is there something else that they need to do? Are they 75 years old and they think they want a 3-story house? Is that a good idea? Protect your clients, you guys, and sometimes we protect them from themselves. Okay, so are you okay with the stairs? You're going to put in a ramp? Like, what is it that's going to work for you? Is there a step-in shower? Are you okay if there's not? How long do you think you'll live there? The thing is, when some people might be afraid to give a downside to what a client might be asking for, when we know, like, just like that, right? We know that if you're 75 years old, being in a 3-story house with all the stairs may or may not be a really good idea. They could be in phenomenal shape, who knows? But bringing up that topic is important. And again, it also speaks to having that relationship. You having concern for them, right? That's what we need to do. Okay. The next thing is we need to deliver the information out of trust. Kind of say that. Well, hold on just a minute. That's not exactly how I want to say it. Okay, deliver the information and wisdom to develop the trust. Okay, so playing on what I just said, when you give an honest assessment. It's not really an opinion. I know we're told that we can't give opinions, and that's okay. But we do have to draw conclusions and assess the situations. That is important, okay? The reason why that's important is because otherwise we just become another salesperson. We're just another body that wants to write a contract, that wants to put somebody in a house, right? That's all we are. But developing the trust and providing that wisdom to them, some agents may be concerned that, hey, if I give them all my information up front, or I spend all this time with them and I talk to them, and then I give them all the information, I give them the pricing information or what's going on in the market, right? And I provide too much to them, that they will just take that information and go put themselves on the market as a for sale by owner. Does anybody have that fear? Ever? I mean, I've been asked before, like, where's the line? Where do we stop giving them information so that they don't leave us and just take it and go do it with somebody else? Okay, number one, if they take your information and go just do it by themselves or with somebody else, you didn't want them anyway, because you'd be forcing them to work with you. Okay, it doesn't happen very often. Like, I think I've had it happen once in over 600 times. It doesn't happen very often. And if that's what they choose to do, you guys, that's their choice. Right? We're not forcing them. You remain the nice person. When crap hits the fan, guess who they're going to come back to? The person that didn't get pissed off because they left to go do it by themselves. Right? So maintain your composure with that. There shouldn't be fear associated with this at all. Okay? All right, number 4. All right, what do they need to know? I could not come up with a fun acronym for this, you guys. I tried. This is all I've got. P, P, T, T, P. Totally does not spell anything, nor is it catchy. So, you know, whatever. Okay, so here we go. You need to make sure that you start with the answer. Don't start with the answer. We need to start with the human, emotional part of things and not the answers. So do you notice in 1 through 3, that's all been basically emotional, right? We haven't even got into like, oh, what would we price your house at? Like, what's the process, right? Here's that 5-page, here's the process of selling your home and how you prepare it and how you de-junk it and how we're going to clean it and how we're going to stage it. None of that. We have to get through all the emotional part of things first, and then the other stuff's easy. So first, we're going to prepare. P-R-E-P-A. Oh my gosh, hold on. Again. Okay, so the first thing is now preparation. How are we going to prepare the client? So for a couple things, okay? We're going to prepare them for what happens during the process of selling their house or buying a house. What does it look like? Okay? Quick, easy process, you guys. Quick, easy process. Make it simple. Don't give them a 10-page booklet to confuse the heck out of them if they don't want to read, right? But explain to them, this is what happens, and you guys all know it, so I'm not going to go over it, right? But that's what we're going to tell them, okay? So how we prepare to sell, and then what the process is during selling. Okay, or buying. Either one. Apply it to both. So preparation first, so they know. Are we going to be packing stuff up in the house? Do we need to paint something? Do we need to do anything? Do we need to stage anything? What is it that we need to prepare for? Do we need to prepare for finding another place? Like what is the preparation stage? Then we have the process. This is what happens. We're going to come take photos. We're going to come take videos. We're going to do all your paperwork, and we're going to get you online in a couple days. We'll put a lockbox on the house, right? You guys know the process. Okay. Okay. What does the transition look like? So go through that step. This baby steps. We're going to go through, and we're going to talk about the transition stage. So okay. So once we're going to close on your house, this is what it looks like. You're going to pack up the few days before, you're going to load your stuff into a truck, you're going to take that truck and you're going to unload it at the next house. or whatever it's gonna look like, right? You're gonna sign both your documents at the same time for your buying and your selling, and then you can transition very easily from one house to another. Again, you're making the process seamless. You're making it easy on them, right? Do you need a moving truck? We got a moving truck for you. What do you need help with? Do you need help packing? Like, what is the holdup? Okay, what is your fear? Go through what the transition is going to look like. All right. What does that time frame look like? What are we talking about in days? Are we talking 30 days, 60 days? What can they handle? Right? Is 30 days going to be too fast? Is that going to freak them out? Great. Let's do longer. Let's ask for a longer closing. Like what does that time frame look like to them? Okay, speak to that. Then we're going to talk about our pricing plan. Now, this is going to go, I say pricing plan, and this is also going to be buying plan. Okay? So you need to have a pricing plan. So if you are doing a listing, you need to upfront have a plan with them. Okay, we're going to stick your house at this price. So let me give you an example. I have a 5,000 square foot house on a 1/3 of an acre lot. Okay, big house, tiny lot, and it is an anomaly. There are not very many homes that are this size in this specific area, Twin Falls. Okay, so that specific house, I had to prep the client. So just so you know, these houses don't move very fast. I figure we're going to be 90 days, even in this hot market. Like the buyer pool is small. Explain that to them. The buyer pool is small. So if we don't have any showings for the first 2 to 3 weeks, I will not be surprised. So don't panic. Everything will be fine. We will reassess after a month to see if we need to make any price changes. Easy peasy. Client says to me, I'm so glad you told me that. I remember that happened with our last house, which also was an anomaly and large in the area. So they were prepared emotionally and mentally for what was going to happen. This saves you so much heartache and time, because if you don't prep them, then you're going to get the phone calls. How come we don't have any showings? Is anybody looking at the house? Right? The panic starts to happen. So you need to have that expectation set up front and what our pricing plan is. Here's where we're going to start. We may go higher than that, right? Depends on your price range. I would assume we'd sell 10 grand more, or we may have to lower the price. Set the expectations based on your study of the market. Okay, and you don't have to have sold 600 houses to be able to understand what your pricing plan should be or what your buying plan should be. That is information that you can gather and research based on the data that you see on your MLS. Okay, that's how you can become the expert that way. Buying, okay, same thing, right? You're gonna have a buyer that gets real mad at you if you don't prep them for this is what's happening in the market. You know, we don't get asked for closing costs, we have to go this far over, or whatever is gonna go on. You need to prep them, again, for the buying side of things. Emotionally, they have got to be prepared, okay? That, again, keeps them not mad at you. Also, they appreciate it. Like, we don't want to wait until we're in the situation and then spring it on them because you're afraid to have the conversation. Have the conversation up front. They will appreciate that you have that conversation up front. Okay, now your big question. You're like, great, Lisa, thanks for teaching us how we talk to the people. Where do we find the people? Right? Anybody wonder? That's like Keisha's like, yeah, where's the people? Okay, so I'm going to give you some daily, weekly, monthly actions that you can be able to take to find people. Okay? So that's what we're going to talk about now. So daily. So how do we find them? Okay. So the first thing is daily actions. We are going to plan your time and fill it with tasks. Now, not just any tasks. You need to, Sundays, right, whatever your planning day is, plan out your schedule for the entire week. Fill in what appointments that you have. Plan your time, fill it in with the tasks that you already have. But then you can see what holes you have. If you have an appointment a Monday and a Friday, what are you doing the rest of the time? If you don't prepare, if you don't plan ahead, you will fail. Because you'll find all these like meaningless tasks to do, right? Or some Facebook to scroll, and you won't be making progress. So that's number one. First, you have to find the time that you have, okay? And as you get busier and busier, you're going to have to fill in less. You're going to have to be looking less, okay? You need to talk to somebody new every day. But how do we do that, Lisa? Daily. Okay, here's some ideas. And I don't know, has anybody ever seen, there's like a list of, I've seen them out there, but like PDFs of like 125 ways that you can find new business. And I read some of the, I think you lose me at about number like 20. That's a lot of things. It's a lot of things to look at. Here's the name of the game, you guys. The more people you meet, the more people you're able to have conversations with, right? The more you are able to find people that want to sell or buy. That's the name of the game. And they say it's the numbers game. It is the numbers game. But if you don't get out and talk to people, if you're just at home on the phone and you're not out in the public so that you can interact with people, which now we can do everywhere, right? You're missing out on starting to create relationships. Now, I'm taking this at a little bit of a different angle, and you're going to be like, oh, but that's hard, Lisa. Okay, you need to find excuses to talk to people. Find an excuse to talk to somebody. Now, a really good thing to remember about this is you need to be interested, not interesting. People don't really care or want to know so much about us, maybe a little bit, but really people love to talk about themselves. So you need to be interested in other people. Okay? This can be at the park. This can be if you've got young kids and you're going to go hang out at the park, that you have a conversation with somebody at the park. Like, that is how you start to make connections. It doesn't have to be that you went to what are they, like the Toastmasters, blah, blah, blah. You know what's a Toastmasters? Everybody else who just wants to try to have you find them business. Quit wasting your time. Go out, boots on the ground, and go talk to real people. So another way to do that is serve. Serve in your community. Serve in the schools. Serve the neighbors. Serve somebody. Serve somebody. Become a part of things that are going on in your community. Because when you do that, you meet people. Okay? And then we layer on top of the serving, you show up in your car that has your tags on it. You don't have to walk up and be like, I'm a realtor. You don't. Because they know you're a realtor. Right? They're going to see you around. They're going to see you driving around. And then they're going to meet you. And then they're going to connect the two things together. And they're going to be like, oh, you're the realtor that drives around the red car. Yep, that's me. Go find, so if you have nothing to do, if you have filled in your schedule with all the tasks that you can and you have nothing to do, you start looking for service. That's what you do. Okay? And there are many ways. I mean, you guys can all find ways to serve. Okay? The more people that you influence, the more contacts you're going to have. That's all it is to it. Right? And it doesn't have to be. Here's what is untrue. You don't have to have sold a house to someone for them to refer you. We all know that. And the other thing about the influencing people, right? The more people you meet, then the more people you can influence. But those are genuine contacts that you have. Now, if you have not gone through, I know those that are in my Elevate group should have done this, but if you haven't, and you've been in business for a little bit, you need to know where all your business comes from. You need to go back and find the source for every deal that you have ever done. And where does that business actually come from? Okay? That's your homework if you have never done that before. And you should be tracking that. Every single deal that you do. Because then you know where you need to be putting your effort. How you're getting your business. And you'll be very surprised about where it actually comes from. Okay? All right, weekly. You need to complete your tasks. So it's really good if we have all these ideas about things, people we're going to meet or ways that we're going to get out of our box to be able to go, meet the new people, talk to new people. We can write them down, we can have a plan, and then we won't go do it. You have to do it by Friday. By Friday. You know the phrase double down, right? Like, you have to double down. You have to hold yourself accountable to do the work. And what becomes difficult in our business is we will have a tendency, and I say this, you guys, because I have a slew of agents in my own brokerage, and we'll go round table at our meetings, and I'll say, okay, what business do you have coming? Or what do you have coming up? And people, I've got some buyers, and no one has a listing. And they're, I don't have any listings. And I'm like, so what are you doing about it? You don't have a listing, so you waiting for them to call you? Because they won't. Right? Double down. Get those things, ideas that you have, that you brainstorm on Sunday, on your calendar, but complete them by Friday. Always complete them by Friday. Okay? And this is how we continue to move forward, is we have to assess our progress. Okay? So we just went through the whole month. What did we do? And what was the outcome? How did it work? Now, sometimes, remember, we can go serve, we can go do things, and it's not like we see a direct, that person wants to sell their house this month, and now I just got business from that. This is a long game. Okay? So assess your progress for the month to see, number one, did you complete the task that you gave yourself to do? How did you do? Because if you're going to complain that you don't have enough business, but you look at your calendar and you didn't do the things that are outside your box, stop complaining. Because you didn't do the work. Right? We never say die. There's always something to do. And you got to do it. Okay? If you stop with the self-doubt for, I don't know if I should do this, or I don't know if I should call this person, or it's uncomfortable maybe to approach, a for sale by owner, right? Oh, they've been called by 15 other agents. So what? They haven't been called by you. You have got to remove the self-doubt. And if you take a moment to kind of, I would say slightly meditate, but really deep think, if you were to do something outside your box, what would that be? And I want you to think about that. Because all of us have something that we avoid doing because it's not in our comfortable space. What is that for you? There's something. I challenge you to do that thing, right? That helps you get to the next level. And it helps you to not be so self-conscious, too. Okay. This is like the trifecta. D, G, E, if I can. I'm going to change my planners next year. Knowledge, consistency, and service. If you have all three of these things going, you guys, you cannot fail at this job. I'm telling you right now, you can't. If you do the research and you have the knowledge, if you're consistent with talking to people, you're consistent with your activities, you're consistent with following what's going on in the market, and you are out to serve people, there's no way that people will not respond to that. Because the agents, and we have 1.5 million agents now. So many agents. We have 15,000 just in our area. We have so many agents, you guys. So many. But they're all waiting for business to come to them. That's what they're waiting for. You create your own business by forging relationships. 100%.